Welcome everyone to the Side Draft Podcast. This week we went to Talladega in the NASCAR Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, and we all expected to have a chaotic race at Talladega, and that didn't happen.
It's like a snooze fest.
It's kind of odd that we had this race is just odd. I think Aric Almirola ends up winning, and he advances into round 3. Which puts the two Penske cars of Keselowski and Blaney under the cutoff now. And they'll have to go to Kansas fighting strong, I guess. But before we get to all that, let's go talk about some pre-race stuff that happened. Kurt Busch won the pole. We had a 1, 2, 3, 4 starting position for Haas. And then 5th through 8th was Hendrick starting spots. This would be the second race in round 2. And Larson would start from the back from unapproved adjustments. He just had a car that was just really slow all weekend.
Ain't sure what's going on there.
And he's a car that really needed to win. He just never showed up. So that's the team helped him get into this round, and they just haven't really been helping him get to the next round.
I don't know, but he just lost all the momentum coming into the playoffs, so it's hard to.
It's like, but you know, we're going to Kansas, and he was pretty decent there last time, but I think that's due to it being a night race, so we'll just have to see how that'll go this time.
Yeah, because last year when I went to at this time in the playoffs when he blew a motor and it took him out.
So in stage 1, all of the Stewart HAAS cars will pull away, and David Reagan would be out of power on lap 1. So after all of the practice, qualifying, then you're done lap 1. So it's really unfortunate there. And he sponsored the main sponsor for this race, 1000Bulbs.com. So
I guess he just couldn't get lit.
out of all of the 1000 bulbs, none of them were lit. So that's really unfortunate for that team. And then it went to single file really fast, and it was just a parade, I guess.
Yeah, NASCAR parade. I should have went waving to people who went by.
And then David Reagan went to the garage to fix, to change the light bulbs, I guess, just to figure out what's going on. Jeffrey Earnhardt would bring out the first caution by blowing a tire, and we thought we would see some more true pack racing. And then Kurt Busch would lead off pit road. McDowell would be too fast on pit road. Paul Menard had some issues, and he would have to go to the pit road during green flag, and the tie it was due to a tire going down, and he would be 2 laps down. Martin Truex Jr. had an issue, and he had to fall all the way back. Just some sort of ill-handling race car, and I think that was the main issue. Is these cars, something with the tires and handling was really an issue all day.
Yeah, I believe Truex, he had something in the rear of the car, just wasn't acting right, making noises, and they never did figure out what was going on there. It just made the car really loose and really hard to turn.
We had a 9-car breakaway, including all 7 of the Fords in the playoffs. We had Chase Elliott and I believe a couple other people. And one thing was asking yourself is, where is everyone? We look far away, no one's there.
Yeah, the Ford train just took off all aboard.
And Brad said he may have an issue with his tires. He would have to pit for tires. And Stewart HAAS would have a 10-second lead over the rest of the field.
Yeah, it would put Brad 1 lap down. One of his tires had a loose wheel. They said they got all the lug nuts torqued and everything, and just somehow it come loose.
Kurt Busch easily takes the stage win. Nothing you can really do. There's nobody giving any momentum to anybody behind him, so he just cruises on to a win. Chase Elliott pits while the pits were closed, so he would be a lap, or he would have to start from the rear end, and Corey LaJoie will get the free pass while Brad Keselowski does not. So some implications early on for Brad Keselowski. Stage 2 would begin. Blaney would take the lead off pit road. And then very early on, I believe like 6 laps after, Jimmy Johnson would hit the wall. Or it might have happened on the very beginning of the restart.
I think
Something like that.
Yeah, Bunny. I think he led six laps.
6 laps, yeah.
And I ain't sure if might have been Byron might have got in the back of Jimmy Johnson, or Jimmy might have just got loose and just lost it.
So another bad race for Jimmy Johnson. He's trying to find some luck to get that final win with Chad and Lowe's. So maybe that'll happen next week at Kansas. We'll just have to wait. Brad Keselowski will get his lap back because of that spin. So that's thankfully for him, he is not so much in a deadly situation. Then there was like this car that created this traffic jam on pit road. I believe it's Blaney got stuck behind him, couldn't go nowhere, so he lost a ton of spots on pit road. And that car, they never said who it was. They never talked about it really, but something weird happened on pit road there.
Yeah, it looked like the 18 might have got into it too. I mean, they didn't really say if he had any damage or anything. It was just weird thing on pit road.
McDowell too fast on pit road. He had to come back down. Truex would be back down on pit road. Try to fix that issue he's been having. Then Harvick would be the one that led off pit road. We had a battle with Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick there for a little while until Kyle Busch would fall back to the back. He just said, well, screw this. I can't do nothing. I'll just see you guys later. We had a single file line for a little while. Truex saying the issue's getting worse. So really, we're having the same racing. It's just, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse for people with the handling, the tires, and nothing you can really do at that point. Larson would spin, causing the 4th caution. They're just trying to get that outside line going. And then Larson, I don't know if a tire blew or if he just lost it. And it was a close call for Brad Keselowski there.
Yeah, I like the one of is it front left or front right? Mike Blue had just shot him across the field right in front of Brad. It's like, woo, what was that?
So,
I think he had no time to even the spotter didn't even have time to say anything on the radio. It was just really lucky for them didn't get collected up in it.
And then Kevin Harvick would just easily cruise to a stage win, which I believe that gives him 3 additional points with the 2 stage wins at Dover and that one. So him and Kyle Busch are pretty much even on points, just by like a 2-point deficit. And that's important because if we ended up having additional winners, let's say if none of the big 3 win in the final round there, the big 3 might actually get broken up, and we know at least one of the big 3 is going to make the final 4, but we just don't know which one that will be. So stage 3 would begin. Stage 1, stage 2 have been pretty calm. Can stage 3 pick up the pace? Will anything really happen? And not much really happened, but Erik Jones had a penalty for unapproved fueling and too fast on pit road. They never showed what was unapproved fueling. I don't know how you can illegally put fuel in a car.
It probably been something with the fuel. Guy might have done some
Maybe
work on the car, grab a tire or something. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I guess if you're going to break one penalty, you gotta just break them all.
Just speed, man. Just keep going. Brad is now in the lead due to the way the strategy worked out. He stayed out because he pitted on the lap before with Larson, and so he trying to bring the Penske cars another win at Talladega. They've been so successful here. Jimmy Johnson would be penalized for having too many crew members over the wall. His day's just getting worse and worse. He's just trying to find some sort of a luck there, just not getting it right now at this point. Then with black flag for Jamie McMurray for forcing the 21 below the yellow line on the restart.
Yeah, Jamie, he tried to plead his case, said that he was just trying to hold on to it, but that's just a call by NASCAR what to do. So he did run down to the yellow line and force the 21. So they mentioned that before the race, that if you push somebody below the yellow line, you're going to get the black flag, not the one that went below the yellow line.
And we started to have a normal Talladega type race. There in the middle of this, we had an awesome battle for the lead between the 24 and the 2. 24 takes it for a little bit, then Brad Keselowski takes it back, and then Joey Logano comes up to challenge. And the next thing they knew, Kurt and Harvick was right there and in second and third. And then McMurray would crash in the grass and cause a caution. And he was stuck there for quite a while.
Yeah, they keep the cars so low here at Talladega that once you get in the grass, you just can't get going nowhere. So I don't think he wanted to get out of the car because it had ended his day. So I think they pulled him out and he's on.
Kurt Busch would win the race off pit road. And Stewart HAAS would just take off again. They had some dominating speed, and it's really weird to say that a group of cars just dominated Talladega. Normally we see like 20, 30, 40 lead changes, and here we only had like 15. So
I think they just got hooked up so good and was so formed up so good nobody could really pass them, because like everybody else in the field kept changing positions and couldn't really get a good run on them.
I think the thing that won the race for Stewart HAAS Racing was simply they came here with the plan and they stuck with it. And most people come here and go, oh, we're just gonna wing it and see what happens. And I think Stewart HAAS just said, we're gonna stick to this plan, and they did it, and they did it well. And we had a caution for a literal loose wheel. The cautions this time was just very odd.
There's a lot of weird cautions. I know that I think it was Corey LaJoie's car had a loose wheel, really, because it went all the way across the pit road into the grass, and a crew member really can't go out there because no wall, and just for the safety of the crew member, just in case there's a car crashes, it's kind of dangerous for them, so they threw the caution out.
Stewart HAAS will take off again. It looked to be like they was just going to cruise on to a win. Nothing really, no one could stop them. They tried to get formed up in the back, just couldn't ever figure out what they was doing. And then Byron and Bowman and JJ Yaley would all crash, involving in overtime. And then we had issues with fueling. Blaney and Harvick ran out of fuel. They wasn't completely out, but they wanted to come in just to make sure.
Yeah, the car started sputtering, so they just kind of like, hey, we actually better come on in.
Which they would have been caught up in that wreck if they would have pitted before that. So they just got in a situation where they just couldn't win either way.
Yeah, it's really odd. I know NASCAR, a lot of the drivers and stuff was complaining about they went like an extra lap or two under caution, and that really ran them out of gas.
And Aric Almirola would win because Kurt Busch ran out of gas. No caution was thrown from that huge crash we had. Actually, the only huge crash we really had. We had that minor one with Bowman and Byron and Yaley, but we had an actual Talladega type wreck on the final lap. No caution. Kurt runs out of gas. Aric Almirola gets the win with Clint Boyer right behind him. And he is Almirolaing into round 3.
Yeah, I ain't really sure why they threw the caution, and I know that NASCAR's got their reasons and all. Like the truck race, they had a last lap crash and they threw the caution, but here they just thought, hey, just let them run.
Yeah, and I think, I don't want to be a downer or anything, but I think this race was one of the weakest restrictor plate racing we've seen in quite a while.
Yeah, it's probably the least exciting race all year. Kind of.
It seemed more like a IMSA race when you think about it, because we had like all the teams right there with each other, or it could be compared to with the Formula One race. It seemed like a team style race today, but I guess every race can't be a race like it was last year. But
y'all wonder how many people fell asleep after lap 10 and woke up toward the end of the race. Oh, it hadn't changed.
But let's review how our picks did. And your pick was Ryan Blaney, which he finished
29th
in the 29th position due to running out of fuel. And my pick was Bubba Wallace, which he didn't really lead laps, but he came close. He was in 4th at one point. He finished in 19th, so solid day for someone who didn't have a backup car.
Yes, he kind of stayed in that back pack. Could never. I mean, a lot of the cars couldn't keep up with the Ford train up front a lot of the time of the day. But good solid finish for that team.
I just wonder what was different from this race from the spring, because the spring had really competitive racing. It didn't have the best of a finish like everyone thought it was going to be, but it definitely was very different. We had 4 cars just dominate the field, do whatever they wanted. It could have been the strategy that they had to just stick with each other, and you know, that strategy did work. But you think maybe the weather, the track conditions were different, because it doesn't really seem like that would have had that big of a difference.
Yeah, I'm not real sure what the difference was here, and what the difference was with the Stewart HAAS team. You know, Penske, they got their 3 cars together and they tried to make a run, but just couldn't really get the side draft off the cars to get a good run on.
I think the bodies of these cars, you know, side drafting works. You know, we work, but I think with the way
they still want to talk about us.
Yeah, they didn't want. I had a tweet saying, you know, I wonder how many times we're going to talk about us. So they just said, we're not even going to let you talk about us. So
we're just going to ride single file the whole race.
Which, I mean, at least it was genuine racing, you know, true racing, I guess. But
you think in the playoffs, you know, the races be a little more exciting, a little more intensity, or
everyone, I think,
just
was
be kind of
conservative.
Yeah, it's like,
I think they was too worried about points. They didn't really want to push. And it was like, oh yeah, Haas is winning. You know, they're already up there in the points. I don't really need to worry about them anyway. So let's just hang back and finish 10th.
Yeah, I think if you're in that line, the front lead line, you know, going single file, you're afraid to move out, because then you get pushed to the back and you lose the lead cars, and it's really tough to really figure out what your car needed and how to move them and how to make a run.
But we will close the chapter of Talladega this year. The last time we'll be here with restrictor plates, even though tapered spacers are very similar, but this will be the last time without restrictor plates. What a weird way to close that chapter. But next week we'll be going to Kansas, and I expect it to be a little similar to Vegas, not as extreme as Vegas was. So who do you think will take home the trophy at Kansas?
Well, I usually don't want to go back to back with my picks, but I think that Ryan Blaney will try to run really hard at Kansas, and he's really good at Kansas. I think he would be really hard to beat there, and so he can get into the next round of playoffs.
As for me, I'm going with the 4 of Kevin Harvick, because he hasn't won a race so far in the playoffs. His teammate just won. He wants to win. You know, he's got tons of wins, but I think he'll get it done. You know, he's pretty much already in the next round, but he just wants to make sure. So that Kansas will be the end of this round, and we will eliminate 4. We'll go on to fight for the final 4. So our season's almost over.
It's almost come to a close.
Then we'll be doing some preseason or off-season videos. My computer just made a sound, but yeah, just let us know some suggestions that you'd like to see, some types of videos that you'd like to see in the off season. So let us know. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.